Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the country, in the world, and whether you're watching this live or pre-recorded. It's much better live. We're back. It's been a while. Oh, and loads of people chiming in already. Hello, Mr. Jackson. Good to see you back. Howdy to you as well. And who else have we got? We've got a few other people. Ignacy, hi there on the keyboard at full speed. Sorry about the little emoji. This platform needs to understand emoji speak a little bit better. But and Paul says he's changed his logo again. Yes, you have. You're just doing this to confuse me. I know who you are. We email quite regularly, and all things are going well. We have an interesting system today, and we've got not one but two guests simultaneously. They're all around the world, and one of them is actually in a hotel room because he's super busy, and that's how things are. So hopefully the hotel Wi-Fi will hold up, but we're going to be doing the slides from my machine, and Spock's going to help me there, make sure it all works properly. And hello, Rafael. Good to hear from you from Brazil. I'm in Brazil at the conference in, I think it's September, but you must have seen all the ads as well. So I'll be doing the keynote there at the conference, and last year was fantastic. It's the only time I ever feel a bit like a rock star when I go to Brazil. It's fantastic. Tim from the UK. Hello, Tim. Enjoying the lovely, super hot weather. And Helios, hello again, my friend. Good to see you back from Zagreb. First day of retirement. Really? I know you can't hear me clapping because of my noise cancellation, but congratulations. First day. I'll have all day for Delphi. That's the way to spend your retirement. I like it very much. Okay, so without spending too much time on this, you always hear from me, and Algeria as well, and Oregon. David, how are you doing, my friend? I must get you on. I've got an idea for a webinar from you, David. And today is not a presentation by me. I'm just hosting it, so I will be here at the beginning. I will be here at the end, and I am driving the slides because of hotels being what they are. But my two guests, now I've had a pronunciation guide because you know how it works with me and foreign names. People always say my name wrong. It's Ian. It's Ian. It's only three letters. But my two guests have got, I wouldn't say they're unusual names, but you know how these things work, okay? So I'm going to, in no particular order, but let me just switch their cameras on. So hello to Amar. Yes. See, he has a perfect American accent, but he has a name that is just deliberately confusing just to make me look bad. I know how it works there. Amar, yes. And he is from Bitto AI, and you brought a friend as well, haven't you? And this is Anand, who, hello, Anand. I asked him what he did, okay, because I know Amar is the CEO, that's right? Your CEO?
That's right, CEO.
Yes, of Bitto.ai. And I asked Anand what he did, and he said CTO, but he actually said Chief Troubleshooting Officer, which I think is fantastic. I liked that description. I think that's much better than Chief Technology Officer, but there you go. So hello to both you. Excuse me. We got people coming in, flying in from all over the place. Marine Laird San Carlos. Wow. You were in California, weren't you? But I'm not sure. You're always globetrotting, Amar, so I don't know where you are now.
You're Europe today, but yeah, I'm down the street from San Carlos, California, normally.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. I think we billed you at one point as a darling of the Silicon Valley or something like that. And you're, poor was it Andrew?
Depends on the day, yeah.
Alexander, he's like, no, don't call him that. But I don't care. And ciao from Trieste as well. So people all around. Anyway, so as I said, I think, Anand, you're going to come on later and do some demo. That's right. And we're going to start off with Amar. So, Anand, wave bye-bye because I'm going to turn your camera off for a second. There you go. And we'll come back to you in a moment. We won't be able to hear you, so you're good to go for now. And what we will do, we'll share my screen. Or do you want to try sharing your screen, or shall I just do my
screen? Why don't you just do yours, so we don't.
Yeah, I think we decided that was probably going to work. Yeah. we're not all as fortunate as me on having super duper Wi-Fi. There you go. Okay, so
Great.
that's green. We can hear you. So I'm going to mute myself, and you can go ahead and present your slides. Now, just whenever you want me to do the next slide, just let me know.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, great. Well, thank you so much for Ian for hosting us in your great community. It sounds like there's a lot of kind of regulars, if you will. And so, great. My name's Amr, as Ian said, and really excited to be here today and kind of in partnership with Embarcadero. So, yeah, we are Bitto, and we have been really looking and building AI code review for developers, and it's used by thousands of developers around the world. And so we wanted to share a little bit about that and, of course, take your questions. So I'll kind of maybe go through about 20 minutes of slides that just kind of explain the product and how it works. And then Anand will come on and we'll give you a bit of a demo of some of the types of things that our code review agent can find and how it thinks and works, if you will. And then we'll talk to you a little bit about, how our system works as well in terms of our UI. And then love to open it up for questions. Great. So maybe next slide, Ian. So just to talk a little bit about, kind of what we see happening, I think many of you are obviously using Embarcadero and using IDE, and you're, using more and more AI. And so, the amount of AI is kind of really rapidly increasing how much code is produced. And we think, we're just really getting started on that journey. You can imagine maybe using some agent down the road that might actually generate thousands of lines of code a day for a task, and it might go and run for an hour, or you're using AI as part of your IDE. But we all, I think, have seen that code that is produced by AI, while certainly very helpful, is not really production, ready. And so, when you think about, is it scale? Is it, architecturally sound? Does it fit into the different components and practices our team has? Is it secure? I think we all find that we have to spend a lot of time going from kind of vibe coding to actually making it engineering ready. And so we really think that code review, as it is not going to scale for this new world. And even today, teams spend, 5, 10, 15% of their time. A lot of senior engineers say they spend half their time doing code review. And so, that's already quite a burdensome task. It's important, but it does take a lot of time and energy. And a lot of times developers are sitting around waiting. So, we really think that, there's a big opportunity to shift left that code review and really help developers. All right. So how do we do that? Next slide. All right, so we have built an agent, and we'll get in just giving you a quick summary here. And agent AI, generative AI agent that integrates into GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, and in a couple weeks will be available in the IDE as well. And it really runs automatically and reviews your code, and posts feedback directly into into those Git systems. We've really focused a lot on really an agentic approach. So it's using the reasoning skills of AI as well as a lot of different tools, and we'll get into more about that. But really the biggest focus has been how do we really have deep code base understanding and contextual understanding of your code base to review that code with high signal and less noise. So we're trying to focus on how do we find important issues, but not have lots of false positives or kind of issues that are a waste or incorrect. We've seen that significantly reduces bugs and regressions. And then, it also does impact analysis. So it's not just looking at the diff that you have, but also highlighting potential impacts upstream and downstream of that. So we have a lot of teams who are using it. Next. Thank you. We have a lot of teams who are using the agent, and these are a few kind of case studies where we've seen really, 89% faster PR merges, right? And so, literally that means so a PR that used to take 4 days, 90 hours from open to merge is now merging in 10 hours, or a lot of teams, it takes about 2 days open to merge time. Here it's now happening in 4 or 5 hours. So in 1/10 the time, 35% fewer regressions. And BitO typically provides about 75 to 80%, 85% of the overall feedback that a PR gets. So these are some teams here, scaled engineering teams, decades old with, millions of lines of code in their code base. They're not starting with like a simple photo sharing app with, 1,000 lines of code or something. And the narrative, I think here, what we've seen is that really the developer gets their feedback in a few minutes. They're able to quickly make changes. Senior engineers then are not as concerned about stepping into the PR because they know that a lot of the blocking and tackling has been done, and they can really focus kind of more on the strategic aspects of maybe from an architecture and design standpoint, which we hope to address one day as well. But I think that's where, humans can really add a lot of value still today. They quickly leave their comments, and then the developer, addresses those. Oftentimes there are not that many of those. And so the whole process just moves a lot faster. And from an ROI standpoint, we've seen really high ROI there. Typically $15 of ROI for every dollar spent. And so if you think about it if you were to invest $1 in the stock market and make $15 every month, I mean, who wouldn't do that? So, we think there's really a lot of ROI in sort of shortening. And this really comes from the time savings of the engineer, the senior reviewer, and then reduction in bugs. And so it's often equivalent to about a 7 to 12%, productivity increase for the team. We run at over 10,000 pull requests each week. So, and that's growing pretty quickly. And so, these are some of the teams, I would say, where we've seen the most kind of interest is teams that are 30 to 800 kind of engineers. We're not yet going after teams that are, 10,000 engineers, but these are all companies. Gainsight is a, multi-$100 million company in the customer success space. Whatfix, digital product adoption. Fetch Rewards powers Walmart's loyalty program. So these are all teams with, in that kind of range. All right, let's get into a little bit more details about how the agent works. So, as I mentioned, a big focus is really how do we understand your code? And so it's what we call code base aware. And it dynamically is kind of traversing your code. So it works in, like I said, GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket. We're just launching Bitbucket Enterprise Support the end of this week. Just at the end of July here, 50 plus languages. You care about Delphi. So it absolutely works with Delphi. We'll show you some examples there. And we have some customers from your community who've been using it. And they're actually the ones who were excited about this and introduced us to Ian. One of the things that we do to really understand your code base is on the fly, we build a symbol index of every repo. Could we jump forward maybe one slide in? Yeah. So we build a symbol index so we can we can find like every variable, every function name, and we also build abstract syntax trees. So that's like a tree-like structure of your code. And what that allows us to do is really crawl your code and say what's, if you've got a 10-line diff to review, it's like, hey, if you think about how a human would look at it, it's like what is the function that this is within? What's the class that this is within? Who are the callers of this function from upstream? Who is this function calling downstream? So maybe we can go back in. We're assembling all those components and providing a number of tools like file search to the LLM so that to the agent so that it can then kind of reason through your code. It also has things like web search. So maybe you're using, a component that was updated after the training window of the model. Well, then what we're able to do is to go and search the web, read about that, and bring that knowledge back, or look at that new version of that module or library. So this gives the agent really powerful ability to stay, very, very up to date. The other thing is with dynamic code traversal, it's not just passing the same context to the LLM each time. We're not just saying, hey, you've got this, like I said, 10-line div, what function is that within? The agent is actually kind of reading through your code and understanding, hey, what you made this change here. What is the impact maybe in this other area? And so it's the kind of reasoning through it to be able to provide and assess if it needs to, if there is a potential issue. What we find is that also really helps control hallucinations and what we call noisy suggestions, or suggestions where people are like, okay, that's fine, but like I don't really care about that. And then I think, just to give you a quick, so what it does is it's going to summarize your PR. We'll show you more about that in the demo. It's going to give you line level feedback that you can one click kind of accept. It's doing a comprehensive review across your logic, functionality, performance, security, code structure, etc. We also include a number of static analysis, secret scanners, OAuth security tools. So, if you've left secrets in the code, it will find those and flag those. And you can also chat with the PR if you're sort of having questions about the suggestion we've made or an issue we found, you don't understand that, or you want to explain to the agent that how it should be done differently, you can do that. Okay, couple more quick slides and then we'll jump to the demo. Oh, sorry, next slide. We also do a lot to customize the agent for your team. So we have the ability to implement custom guidelines and best practices. So there we're able to, you can provide us whatever guidelines you have. We actually have some standardized templates as well. But, you can just put them in natural language. Like, we actually had somebody from your community who implemented some, thousands of lines long of rules. You can also just put in 10 rules. You could say, hey, this repo, super performance. We want a real focus on performance, making sure that things are done as efficiently as possible, etc. And so then, our agent will look for those issues as we, do the review. The other thing is that we also have a learning system. So as we provide feedback, your team can mark if that feedback isn't relevant, if that's not the right kind of feedback that your team wants. And you're able to then flag that feedback to us, and our agent learns that and then tunes that feedback out. And so effectively, the agent becomes more and more tuned to the type of feedback that your team wants. And we'll show you that a little bit later. All right, I think maybe with that, why don't we flip to the demo?
Okay, well, I'll stop sharing the screen for a second. Look, we're back. And so are we going to swap over to Anand now? Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I'll turn him on and turn you off, so to speak. So we'll come back to you shortly then. Are you going to be describing the demo, Amar, or is Anna?
No, Anand will take everyone through.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm going to turn your camera off then for a second and then share his screen, okay?
Yeah, and you mute me, or I mute?
Yeah, you'll be muted. Okay, let me share Anand's screen. You probably want to minimize that thing and so on and so forth. Okay, so you're good to go. You are sharing live.
Yeah. So hi everyone. Amar basically took you through what Bitto does and how do we do code review. So here's an output of like a pull request or merge request, what do you call it, based on GitHub, GitLab, or Bitbucket that basically came to Bitto through webhooks and Bitto.
Sorry, can I just stop you? You can click on see that thing that says hide down on the bottom? Hide.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there you go. You're good to go. Sorry about that.
No worries. So Bitto will review your pull request or merge request, and then we'll look at all the changed files that are there, any commit messages and so on. But we'll look at the code changes and then generate this summary. So out here it will kind of summarize the changes that you have done in brief. So here you can see implements performance improvements for memory pooling, for syntax nodes and enhanced string caching and so on. Now, beyond that, what it does is it basically does a code review wherein it will tell you that it has 3 actionable solutions that you should basically look at. As Amar mentioned, it does provide you review details wherein it will give you details of all the files that are reviewed, any files that are basically skipped based on your filters. You can say which file to skip and so on. So it will take care of that. And we do run some tools like detects secrets, whispers to basically see if there are any secrets left in code and so on. You can enable any kind of linters that you want, as well as static code analysis. Now beyond this, what Bitto will do is provide you a change list. Now this is pretty good for somebody who's reviewing the code, right? Like once Bitto reviews it, the submitter or who made the change focuses on the changes, the feedback, and then fixes it. uh, the reviewer, the human reviewer, when he comes back, he can basically look at, okay, what all changes basically encompassed, this PR, wherein, you can basically get file level information of what actually changed in those files. And like, for example, this was a bug fix, control naming correction, and then we also basically did a feature improvement of memory pull. And then for this, which all files were modified, and in each of these files, what changes took place. Okay. Now comes the major part where Bitto basically excels. So it will actually go through the code, and as Amar mentioned, it will go through the code line by line, look at the code blocks, identify if there are any issues, and surface them so that you can look at them and fix it. So for example, out here, there's security vulnerability with executable memory flag set here, page execute and read write. So ideally, you should basically change it to page read write. So it basically gave you the suggestion, as well as it gave you the code changes that you can directly apply out here. The other thing is, if there are multiple changes, you can obviously add it to the batch and then make a single commit. Similarly, it identified other issues like, here is, an increment operation which is done, which is, non-atomic. So, something that should be fixed. Then you have, access violation in empty array loop. And then, instead of length, basically use high. Typical, basic code issues that can be identified by Bitto. Now let's take you to something which is more contextual, right? So here, I'll basically take you through a MR or a PR wherein, we basically made, like, again, you get the summary. Here we basically have implemented an observer pattern for real-time message handling, wherein you have UI, you have backend, and there are messages going back and forth. Now out here, while doing the code review, I'll take you to an interesting, basically, scenario, which is, out here, uh, thread unsafe UI update in event handler. This is very typical from the UI. You get an event, you're processing it, and you hand it over to the backend. Backend basically tries to update something or call a function at the UI layer, and UI is not thread safe. So you need to basically make modifications for that. So this was caught, and it did give you a suggestion. I'll just take you here. This is the code suggestion that it gave you, like, put it in a thread, thread queue to execute. But to identify this, what it did was basically go through the main form and identify that this new status message, handle new status message is set as a callback. Then it actually goes and identifies how is that callback called. So, you have like HTML start process click, which internally then basically calls fstatus module process data. This actually then, adds a message. Now, once this add message is done, this add message will then basically call, on new message, formatted message. And then this guy basically calls, the new message handler. So it basically went through the whole stuff and then identified, okay, you have a UI layer, you have a backend layer, multi-threaded. From there, you're basically pushing stuff, and it's not thread safe. So it, utilize that whole context to actually give you the suggestion that, okay, you need to kind of fix this. Typical scenario, and in Delphi when you're kind of dealing with like front end and back end. I'll also take you through another contextual scenario. So this is one wherein, we are like, this again like multi-threaded application, but I'll show you the feedback that it gave. So missing thread synchronization in add string method, right? Now for this, it identified that basically this add string method is, directly going and doing, copy from, which can basically, in a shared resource, can basically read from the current pointer, but the current pointer can be updated in a multi-threaded environment, so it can lead to a lot of issues. So you basically should add in a lock before you access this particular stream. Now to do that, it actually went through the code and identified that, okay, you're using threads, thread safe memory stream. Then it basically went through, the thread processor class, identified, what kind of operations are done. It actually went through the, process thread executor to see what is happening. So it basically, built the context of how things are working. And then it identified that string actually does, str stream copy from. Now here, if there are multiple threads and you basically don't put it in a lock, it can lead to a lot of issues. And then it identified that, this get summary actually, is calling string, and this get summary is also being called via, you know, the button click. So from the UI, you're calling this, which might basically read the stream, which is being modified by multiple threads simultaneously. So you should basically go and then add a lock. So it will identify these kind of contextual scenarios also. So, kind of do a deep analysis, look through all the files, not only the files where the code changes have happened, but also existing files which you haven't modified, to kind of see that the new code changes that you have done, kind of work properly. And if there is something that needs to be fixed, to make sure that, there are no production issues, it will highlight those. And you can, one click basically apply the session. Now, what if what you're doing during the pull request actually is available to you when you are basically in your IDE? Now, I'm taking Visual Studio here for example, but this is also available in other IDEs. So I can basically just say Bito code review agent, and then review local changes, stage changes by commit ID, or review this file. I'll just hit review this file, and then it will start reviewing. It will take some time to gather context and provide you a review. So let me just open it, something that I just ran. So basically, when it does the code review of any file, it will give you the suggestions, but it also gives you, the call graph, so that you know what it went through to give you the feedback. But this is the same file, one of the same files that I'm kind of modifying locally, which had the same page, execute and read write issue that I kind of showed you in the first PR. I'm modifying the same code, so it identified that. So what you see in IDE and what you see on your PR review is going to be exactly the same. So it basically makes sure that although we are using AI, every time you give something to AI, it always says, you can make it better. Yes, few more changes, right? And the changes never end. But here we are doing a thorough review. We'll tell you what to fix, and if you run it in the IDE, or if you run it during pull request or merge request, you'll receive the same set of feedback. If you fix it, it'll say it is fixed, and there won't be any issues. So that's the demo. Any questions?
I think right now we're good. I'm going to turn your screen demo off. My question would be, because I was doing thumbs down and like, here it is in Visual Studio. I'm like, woo!
I'm sorry, we didn't have like Delphi
It's
installed here.
well, I think you guys said as well that you're planning on doing some stuff with Rad Studio. Is that right? That you're actually looking to maybe have that available? I'll actually put on Amar's camera as well. So that is that. Sorry, I should have warned you before I turned it on. You're in a hotel room. There might be a room service behind you, something like that. We know how you top flight CEOs live. I'm sure your train for campaign is on the way.
Yeah.
So.
Right. So glad my caviar is coming.
Oh, good. Yeah, good to know. Good to know. We've got to keep up certain standards. Yeah, I mean, my question right now, I know you've got some more slides to go through, but I want to thank Eugene as well, and because let me just because I always forget his last name. Hold on one second. Salamatov. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but Eugene, you're probably going to watch this at some point. I just want to say thank you for putting us in touch. Bito, I'm sure, are very grateful, and we're actually very grateful too as well, because we've had products on before that feature some code security tests. Scanner is one who we have a pretty good working relationship with, because it's about giving people options, but yours is quite unique. Do your slides go in to describe how you do what you do, or
Well, I think I'm happy to answer more questions about that. I tried to explain that a little bit before.
right?
But
Okay.
if you have any questions or anything you want me to
Yeah.
comment on,
Well, first one is Ricardo says, does it work for Azure DevOps? I don't think
yeah.
it does.
So today it doesn't. That's on our roadmap, though.
Yeah.
AWS Code Commit and Azure DevOps are kind of the two next source code management platforms we'll be adding.
Watch this space, I think is what you're saying, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Today works with GitHub Cloud and Enterprise, GitLab Cloud and Enterprise, and Bitbucket Cloud and Enterprise.
Cool. Yeah, and actually he seems pleased by that because he says thanks. So good job. Yeah, good. He didn't go, oh God, I hate you or something. Which is, forgive me if I'm preempting some of your slides, but I don't think I am. But when we spoke about this before, let me just block this spammer. There you go. I like squashing the spammers when they appear. YouTube, it happens. When you described how it works before, you spin up because security is quite a big thing for probably all developers, but certainly for our customers. You actually spin up a Docker instance, is that right? And the Docker instance is looking at the code. It's not some big server off somewhere or something like that. Your Docker instance is dealing with it. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So exactly. Sorry. Just real quick on that. Yeah. So we absolutely, security is super important. We know that people want to really manage their code, make sure it's private and secure.
Secret blend of 7 herbs and spices. That's what, or the Coca-Cola, secret recipe. That's what it is. Except it's technological. So yeah,
absolutely. So we don't store your code. We don't train our AI on your code. We mostly use large kind of enterprise models from Anthropic, OpenAI, and Google. And so, all of those companies do not store or train on your code, and nor do we. And so what we do is kind of going back to what you were saying, Ian. What we do is when we're running a review, essentially most of the way the platforms work is that you're calling us via webhook. And then that fires the agent. We actually, in a Docker instance, we clone the repo so that we can build the symbol index, the abstract syntax trees, etc. Understand your code. We then provide the necessary context to the LLM. We get that back, and then we post that, let's say, to GitHub, and then we destroy the file system of the Docker image. So we don't store your code.
I think it's a great model. I really like that model, and I think I always describe myself as an AI skeptic, but I'm an optimistic skeptic, in the sense that I absolutely believe we are in the moment. This is something significant. It's as significant as the invention of the internet, as the web, as ubiquitous Wi-Fi and all the rest of it. It is a significant moment, and I think that AI has the potential to improve our jobs. I was answering some questions for a friend because they're developing a product, and they call it in English, British English, they call it mates rates. In other words, doing it for free.
Yeah.
But they sent me a spec from a program, and I thought, oh my gosh, it's really awful. And how do I tell them that this is really bad? Because there were holes in it. And I sent back a long critique. I spent quite a long time on it, saying, I don't mean to be mean, but what you've written here is no good. And they came back and said, oh, we just asked ChatGPT to generate it. And that's the thing, that there is a concept of AI slop, where if you don't know to ask the right questions, and then what you get back, you don't understand what's coming back, yes, you're going to end up sometimes with nonsense. But what I saw of your demo there, Anand, was really good, because actually when you showed some of the thread locking stuff, many Delphi developers are not they're not they're kind of journeymen, to use a weird phrase. They know what they know, and they do that, and that's how they do it day in and day out. But things like more advanced coding, where you are worrying about race conditions and thread deadlocks and stuff like that, that's a very good use, because it's the kind of thing, even if you do know that the UI cannot multitask effectively, it's very good that the pull request review that you did comes up and says, hey, you missed this. This is going to be a problem. And I like that fact. I like that it does that, because it doesn't matter how good you are. This is what I consider to be a good use of AI. It's enhancing my abilities as a senior developer, senior in age and experience. But as a senior developer, it's good, and it also means that it's catching some of the things where I'm having a rough day. I've got a lot on. I'm overwhelmed with work, as I said to you at the start when we were discussing this. The more people use AI, the more pressure is to reduce headcounts. Take Microsoft as a classic example. They got rid of 16,000 people in May. They got rid of another 9,000 in June. You don't do that without having some impact on the people that are left behind. And the people that are left behind now, I don't care what anybody says, are expected to step up and fill that gap. And that can only mean one thing. Yes, they use an AI to fill the gap of 28,000 people gone, or however many it is. But in turn, if they do use AI to fill that gap, they're generating a lot more code that they didn't write. And so things like your product, the reason that you're on today is I think it helps ease the pain of the increased workload that you've got. Yes, you've still got a job, but now you've got more of a job because there's a reduced headcount. So I think companies looking to reduce their headcount, I'm sorry if that means that some of the developers lose their jobs, but welcome to reality. I can't change that. I can't make you, more labor intensive and therefore require human beings. But if you're left behind, or you're in charge of a development team that's reduced, here's a way to reduce the pain. And I think your product really fits nicely with that. A couple of good questions. This one is from Rafael. Who I know. He is a Brazilian developer, and he says, would it be possible to generate text and comments in other languages such as Portuguese?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
yeah. So I can show a few more things, Ian. But yeah, you can choose the output language that you want, and I think we support about 25 different languages. So yeah.
Yeah, and I want to emphasize as well that your product is we didn't make you put Delphi in. You can, in fact, Eugene came to us and said, "Hey, these guys do Delphi already," and that's quite a good thing for us, because there aren't, we know we're the Cinderella in some ways, but we are ninth out of the top 10 languages, and someone described us as being an out of date and old language, and actually I showed that in the top 10 on the TIOB index, we're actually the fourth newest. So it kind of annoys me when people think that Delphi is some kind of old-fashioned language. We're the only actively, we've got a new version coming out soon, and
yeah,
it's good to see you guys supporting it. There are a lot of developers out there, many big corporates, so it's good. So the answer is yes, Rafael. It is available in Portuguese. So hola to you, my friend, and hopefully you'll be in Sao Paulo in September. Alexander Tibbets, what examples of how teams use Bitto's custom or learned rules from the PRs? How does Bitto adapt and improve on its own?
Yeah.
Is it sentient, and will it take over the planet? Is that what it's saying?
So actually, maybe I can just kind of share my screen and answering that question here real quick.
Do you need the slides, or do you want to just do your screen? I don't mind either way. I mean, if you want to share your screen, just do it, and I'll make sure it comes up.
Yeah, I'll just share my screen.
There you go.
Yeah. Cool. So so as I was kind of mentioning before, we have this is when you log in at bitto.ai. And I'll show you a couple different things here that I think people might find helpful. But we actually have two things: custom guidelines and learned rules, kind of getting to Alexander's question. So if you look at custom guidelines, you can actually add guidelines. You can use it. We have a number of templates here. So the Go style guide by Google, Java style guide, Ruby style guide. We have security guidelines that you can use. So you can, use this guideline, and then it just kind of, validate all inputs, injection prevention. These are the OWASP top 10. It's giving some good examples and bad examples. You can say use regular expression safely, et cetera, et cetera. So implement secure authentication, and you can tweak this, you can change this, et cetera. And so then what you do is, we've got a couple of different guidelines here that, the team has made, and then you can go and apply them, to one of the agents, and I'll explain that in a second. So one is you can implement your own custom rules and guidelines. The second thing is that we have something called learned rules, and what learned rules allows you to do is, as we provide feedback to your team, let me see here if I can just show you one real quick. So right here, with every piece of feedback, we ask, should BITO avoid suggestions like this for future reviews? So you can either just mark it thumbs down, or you can actually just chat here and say, like, avoid this kind of message. And so then BITO will learn that and create a rule here. And those rules are applied by repo and by language. And so then this kind of gives you some detail about when this rule was created and who created it. But the idea is that maybe BITO is giving some feedback that's not relevant for your team. Maybe it's a different kind of practice than you employ, or you're just like, yeah, we don't care about this. So when you flag it here, now BITO, every time it's about to give feedback, will kind of match it against these and say, hey, this isn't the feedback that the team wants. And you can have these rules and you can disable them, or you can even delete them, if you want to. And so that's kind of another way that the agent can really learn and customize to your team. We have a lot of things planned around this. Over time, we hope to ingest prior comments that people have made. We're doing a number of things to kind of learn your architectural design patterns and principles and coding practices already embedded in your code base. So all of these, the agent will kind of get smarter and smarter about, understanding your code. Maybe just going back here, I wanted to show kind of some of the different settings. So when you connect your Git system, like we're showing you GitLab here. When you connect your Git system, you can create multiple different versions of the agent. And so this is just kind of the default agent, but you could have, one version of the agent for maybe your front end team, and maybe another version of the agent for your back end team, or maybe your machine learning team, because they might each have different settings or different guidelines they want to implement and things like that. And then you can go in here and you can customize the settings of the agent. So here's a chance to pick the review language. Here's Portuguese here for whoever, I'm sorry, I forget your name, but who'd asked that. So you can choose the output. We have different modes of the agent. So some teams really want just super and critical production level issues. That's essential. Other teams we found really like comprehensive. It's finding more, nice to have suggestions, things that could lead to technical debt downstream, etc. And then we have a number of different different settings here. You can, how often you want incremental reviews to run, things like that. And then this is where you can implement your custom guidelines. So you could say, hey, I'm going to select from some existing guidelines, and you could apply those. You could apply those, here.
Excellent.
Yeah. And then you also have different filters. I'll wrap this up quickly, but you can exclude certain files or folders. By default, we run when you're merging to the default target branch. That's kind of our base behavior. But if you want to add other target branches when you're merging into, or different source branches that you want to have the review run on, you can run that. And you can always also just type /review and the review will run. And then the last thing is I wanted to show you is we provide a bunch of analytics. So you can see that here. We provide kind of an overview, how many PRs have been run, the types of issues that have been found. We categorize them, which is really helpful for a lot of teams. A lot of times people don't really know what is actually happening in code review. So we kind of give you a lot of analytics around that. You could drill down on that. We're showing you how many for merge PRs, what's your accepted rate, and you can kind of slice and dice this. You can also, of course, it decides to take time right now. You can also choose different dates, and you can also export all this to PowerPoint, PDF, things like that.
Wow.
And then I'll just show you one other thing. This is really cool, kind of repository analytics. You can see which of the repos are most active, but I actually think this is kind of more interesting. Like you can see issues reported per 1,000 lines by different languages. You can see issues reported by 1,000 lines for different repos. And so here you can start to get a sense of like maybe where the team needs some help, maybe where, hey, why do we have so many issues in this language? And we kind of give you heat maps here as well of language married with the issue types. And so you can start to see if maybe you've got different, certain kinds of languages, you're having more performance issues, the team need training, things like that. So yeah, that's, let me maybe stop there.
Oh, the analytics they're just so cruel, those analytics. You said just stop now. Yeah, sorry, I spoke over you.
No worries. Yeah. I mean, you could, let's see, I can probably do that stuff.
Let's turn Anand on again because he dropped for a little while and his camera disappeared. There he is. I really love this. And unfortunately, one of the people that just said something cool is just left. Rick said AI is killing mundane, repetitive tasks. Yes, that's like saying, the difference between carpentry in the 1600s and carpentry now. You still have a master carpenter, but they use tools to do the job. And, with respect to IKEA, I don't want to insult them. That chair behind me, which one? That one there, anyway, if I point to it. That's an IKEA chair. It's a cool chair. But I think we would all agree that an IKEA chair is not as good as one made by a master craftsman. But that master craftsman doesn't sit down with an old-fashioned chisel and a hammer. He uses modern tools to do it. But it's the knowledge that goes into it. And that's the difference between AI. AI is not replacing your master craftsmanship. It's just making you be able to do that job more successfully. And not everybody gets that. So I really like that. Peter Turtle, who unfortunately is left now, he had to go somewhere else. I should mention that I used to work with Peter years ago down in South London. Back in the day, he's an MVP now, not because I used to work with him, but because he knows what he's doing. But as he says, he's one of the people that scanned that QR code, which is up in the right-hand corner of the screen there. He says it looks very interesting. Now, he works at a big organization that do a lot of PR requests and cool. So maybe, you never know, they might be a new customer for you. I'll have a word with him separately because he is a friend of mine. But as he said, it's good for reviewers and juniors will benefit and learn from it. And he also followed that up and said the multi-language thing could be a real winner, particularly for onshore, offshore collaboration, which I know his company does do. They have, and that's quite typical in the Delphi world. There are probably more people outside of the United States and the UK, so English-speaking areas, than there are anywhere else. So there's plenty of offshore people in, India subcontinent, and stuff like that. My building, I live in Frisco in Texas, and it's a weird place because for 40%. Whoops, what happened?
I'm not sure. Oh, there we go.
Someone clicked something. Maybe somebody pressed a key press. Wasn't me. 40% of the people in my area work remotely, and of those people, 90% of them work in the tech industry, and they're all remote and they're all working for various companies, but they're all working in cross-country teams. So not just across the United States, but typically, I go on meetings with people who are in Armenia, the Philippines, and stuff like that. So actually, I think the idea of the multi-language thing is probably very relevant to Delphi developers, because a whole ton of Delphi developers out in Brazil. It's like I don't know what we did out there, right? But it's like a ghetto for Delphi developers. There's thousands of them there,
Yeah, and actually, just on that, like one of the things we've seen is kind of interesting. A lot of times teams will say, hey, our standard language maybe is English, for example, right? But then you have some developers, let's say you're onshore, offshore, just different locales, who they're more comfortable interacting in their own language. So, we have that chat functionality built in. And so you can just, let's say you've got some feedback from our agent in GitHub or whatever, and you can just chat with the agent, with the BITO agent. whatever language you ask your question in or make your comment in, will respond in that language. So
That's
if you said,
fantastic.
"Hey, I'm going to use French," or "I'm going to use, Portuguese," or
German or whatever.
whatever,
Yeah.
it will respond in that language,
Yeah.
so the developer can kind of get their comment addressed in whatever.
I think it's very common in the Delphi world as well, to have people that are working, in multiple countries. And so I think that's a great thing. I really like your product. When you did a demo to me, when we were deciding whether it would, be something that worked for us, within 10 minutes, I'm like, yeah, this is no brainer for me. So,
Yeah, no, we're excited.
yeah, it was not difficult. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, do you feel like we've covered everything, or is there more you want to talk about?
No, I think, and anything else you wanted to touch on, or?
No, I think we covered everything pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I really appreciate you. It's not common now for people to consider Pascal and Delphi. But actually, there are millions of Delphi developers out there and working in all sorts of organizations. And I do my bit trying to raise the profile, and I'm doing quite well, succeeding. But it's good that you support it and you grasp the thing well and truly. I mean, your demos show that the AI that you're using understands that code very well.
Yeah,
because the things that I really liked the demo because you picked up on some very good examples of stuff that the human being might, and people are scanning the code, so I don't know if you can see the screen, but that's good there, mate. That goes directly to the
How does it
BitToes.
do that? That's cool. I guess it's using your camera to recognize it.
Okay, so what people do is that they point their camera at the QR code, and I can actually I did do it earlier on, but I can only put one of these captions up at a time. But for those that want to go to the old-fashioned way of doing it, if you just go in your browser to bito.ai, it's at the bottom of Amar's name there. But just to make Amar feel like we value him as well. Yeah, Chief Trouble Officer. You got to. I know I said troubleshooting, but I reckon he's trouble. But just go to bito.ai and you'll get there, and it's all good. But it's great. Okay, well, thanks a lot, guys. I'll probably wrap it up for now. But if you're up for it, we'll probably do another webinar in the future. And there's loads of events and stuff like that as well. For those that are watching, this will be on the replay. It will be in the IDE probably later on today. So you just open the welcome page, and there it is down there. And those of you that catch it on the replay, it's good. But for now, I'm going to turn you guys off and then close out the webinar. But thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Ian. Thank you, Delphi community, and we're excited to hear from you.
And the hotel Wi-Fi held out as well. I'm really amazed. Obviously, he's in the first class area.
Wow, really giving me a hard time, huh? All right.
Yeah, nice. And that was like, hey, there's going to be background noise. I tell you what, it was completely faultless, so we didn't hear anything untoward. Yeah, it's great. All right. Well, thanks a lot, guys. All right, no worries.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay, so that was bito.ai, and as you know, if you scan that QR code, I've got it on a different side of the screen today, so I have to point with a different hand. But either go in your browser to bito.ai or scan that QR code, and you'll be taken directly to their site. I'm interested in the product. I think it's great. Rick says it's another good presentation, guys. Thanks. Delphi with AI on every desktop. See ya. Yeah. As I've made it clear to people, I am optimistic. I think AI is really exciting. I think there's so many good things happening, but I'm not going to fluff over with all the nonsense. There's a lot of crud out there, and AI slop is a phrase that's becoming more common. So you've got to pick between the nonsense and the good stuff. And this stuff, we're not getting any commission for this. We don't have a financial relationship. This, I believe, is a good product, and I think it's worth exploring. The one thing we forgot to talk about was the pricing, which was on the website. And Amar, can I turn you back on for a second? Just 1 second. I don't want you to freak out if you're eating something. So let's turn you on. But the one thing we forgot to mention was the price. Now, on the website, I think you've got a pricing page. Is that right?
Yeah,
because
yeah,
we did say you can get started for free. That's because if I say, but it will cost you, then people go, oh well, I'm cheap. I don't want to pay anything. Realistically, you can get started for free. There is a free tier, but realistically, it's enough to get you understanding what the product can do for you, to do something useful. But I think in order to get the full benefit, then of course you're going to need some subscription. Is that
yeah.
right?
Yeah, we have a 2-week free trial that you can run, unlimited PRs. And so it's really a chance for you to roll it out to your team and get feedback and make sure, it's working well. And then, we have a team plan that's $15 a month per developer. So it's, we're doing work kind of related to a developer creating PRs. So if you have 10 developers in a month who are raising PRs that we're reviewing, then that team plan would be, $150, $15 per developer. And then we have an enterprise plan that allows you to implement the custom rules. We're adding support for Jira shortly and Confluence. So if you have a Jira ticket, we'll assess whether that ticket was completed. We'll review any documentation in Confluence to then assess that code review, do the review with that. So anyways, that is a $25 per developer per plan.
Yeah.
Sorry, per month. And so we've got a team plan at 15 and an enterprise plan at $25.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not ridiculously expensive. That's the whole point here. And I think if you look at some of the ChatGPT plans and things like that, you're actually ridiculously cheap. So I think Claude, what was it? Claude AI. One of them is like
200. Yeah, $3
a month. I'm like, whoa, okay, you've really got to find that useful before you start looking at it. Okay, excellent. All right, well, I'll turn you off again now because you did both of you messaged me and said, "Can we leave now?" The answer is yes. It's all good.
Right.
Nothing bad will happen. Okay.
Thank you so much. All right, talk to you soon. Bye.
No worries. Okay. All right. Well, that was Bitto.ai and Amar, sorry, and Anand. Lots of words beginning with A. Great demo. I really like this product. This won't be the last time you see this product. We will come back to this again. We've talked about DirScanner in the past as well, who does slightly different. DirScanner is in kind of the security area, and Bitto is more about managing those code reviews and pull requests and things like that. There is some crossover, but actually there's kind of more parallel. So I think that's a good thing, really, because we have no horses in the race, shall we say. You pick what works for you. But like I say, you can get started. They do have a free entry kind of level and then go from there. Excellent. Well, it's good to talk to everybody. And thank you to my guests. And thank you to Eugene for putting us together as well. And we've got some more stuff lined up. We've got quite a few webinars coming up, some very interesting releases on the horizon. If you are not sure, if you go to our website and go to there, if you're a customer on maintenance, you can try out the new beta of RAD Studio Florence, which will be the next version of RAD Studio that's coming out later this year. You need to sign a non-disclosure agreement and things like that, but if you've got maintenance, then I believe you can get the beta program. We will close it at some point. I'm not sure if it's closed yet. I don't think it is, but pop along and try it out and see what's coming up, because we never standing still. We're always improving. That's how we try and do these things. And then you'll see me again in July. I've got some more stuff. We're nearly at the end of the July, but in August, I'm hosting a JavaScript Days camp as well, because why not? Amongst those other things, and then I'll be off to Germany a few times and Poland and Brazil. So you'll see me around. So if I'm not on the screen, don't worry. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, click on that like and subscribe button. I don't get any money for it. We don't get any extra benefits or anything like that. But if you click on like and subscribe, what will happen is, and I don't care about the likes actually, click on subscribe, because what will happen is when we do go live, if you've missed the emails or you've been the emails or whatever, you'll get a notification from YouTube. We won't know that you're following us. we'll just see the subscriber count go up. But what will happen is you'll get an alert when I go live. We are going to do some shorts, and we've got some other things coming up as well. Some videos that I'm not pre-announcing. We're just going to get them ready and broadcast them. So go to YouTube and click on subscribe, and you'll get notified without us ever spamming you if you're worried about that. And that is it. Let's see. Milan says, "Oh, I got here late, but it looks promising." Milan, you will get the replay as soon as I click stop here. There will be a replay available, so you'll be able to see that. And Einstein says, "Thank you." Yes, thank you to my guest, and thank you to you. That's it for now. I will see you again next time, and we are planning a series of webinars with some very interesting topics coming up as well. So I'll see you again in a couple of weeks, I think. Until then, bye-bye.